I'm a huge fan of Susan Scott's work with Fierce Conversations and Fierce Leadership. I love the beach ball model of getting everyone's perspective, because you only see your strip, your perspective. Her quote here, I think, is important because collaboration is all about conversations. Once you achieve intimacy and connection, which would be achieved through conversations, I predict that innovation, partnership, execution, and success won't be far behind. And I think that is very telling to collaboration. I have two stories to share about my work and experience with collaboration. My first year as a school administrative manager, I was in charge of 4 separate committees: cheer committee, bulletin board committee, incentive party committee, and the store committee. And I led every committee. You know, I got everyone to agree to norms. I would get to the committee, let's review our norms, let's talk about our objective. Okay, get everyone to talk. What does everyone agree upon? All right, here's what we agree upon, right? Okay, that would be my role in every single committee meeting. That first year I worked really hard at demonstrating it and then turning it over. And a few people popped up as potential leaders. I worked with them, I collaborated with them to get them those leadership skills, and I slowly handed over that to them so that they could kind of guide the group and pull in the pieces to the conversation and to the collaboration. You know, second year we kind of did that. I was able to step out a little bit more, let them run meetings on their own. By the third year, I didn't have to be a member of the committees anymore. I was able to have all the committee meetings on one day at one time and have them work, and I would bounce around to each of them. There was a day there where I was in one of those like, oh, I'm so happy I could cry moments, because I bounced from each meeting to each meeting. They started on time, they reviewed their norms, they were practicing their norms, they were being respectful, they were making sure everyone was talking, and they were coming up with creative, innovative ideas. They were having fun, they were engaged, and beautiful work was being done. And they got their objectives met, and then they ended on time. And I was just like, huh, amazing, amazing. So I think collaboration is just key to getting the best results and building in that buy-in from everyone for those results as well. My other story is leading collaboration in a situation in which I wasn't necessarily in charge or the supervisor, and that was during an IEP meeting in which I was integrating a student from our secluded school to his typical school. And that required a lot of collaboration. Pairs from both schools, teachers from both schools, administrators, team reps, and then community resources, parent and student. And so there was a ton of people at this table. How do I get everyone on board with this plan and invested in this plan so that everyone's going to support it? That took a lot of leading the conversation, but not talking. My goal in that conversation was to talk as little as possible. So here's what we're thinking. Why don't you share about your thoughts on that? Why don't you share what we talked about and what you thought a good goal was? And throughout that meeting, I left that meeting and be like, oh, I felt really good about it because I did pretty minimal talking. I got everyone else to talk, and that's tricky to do sometimes in a large meeting where not everyone knows each other. So collaborative leadership, it always brings about the best decisions and the best results. And as a leader, you need to believe it, role model it, demonstrate it, and require it, and structure the time so that it can occur. Ethical leadership. Now this is one, acting with integrity, fairness, and in an ethical manner. Why is it important we have ethical leadership? To achieve the mission, but this is kind of one of the ones where, could you not have ethical leadership and still achieve the mission? Maybe. And I find this one even more challenging as a leader because that oversight's not there. You're in charge of your building, you're the one on top, you're the one, you may not have that oversight, but are you following the law? Are you requiring teachers to follow the law? Are you putting students first in every decision? Are you a responsible steward of taxpayer dollars? These are all important ethical things that you must be doing. And why? Why do we do them? Now, me personally, I do it for my faith. You know, there's not some intrinsic desire to follow the law, especially when you disagree with it or you don't like it. Why do I do it? It's the right thing to do. And why do I do the right thing to do? Because I have convictions, religious convictions. That's why I'm ethical. Political leadership. Understanding the profile of the community, responding to and influencing the larger political, social, economic, legal, and cultural context. This ties in a lot with the other types of leadership, visionary, collaborative, instructional, promoting a culture of learning, but it takes it beyond the walls and the confines of your school or district to the larger community. And again, the way you influence the larger community, the way you influence the context outside of your school is through conversations, through each conversation. Remember that what gets talked about and how it gets talked about determines what will happen or won't happen if it's not talked about. And that we succeed or fail gradually and then suddenly, one conversation at a time. Another really great quote by Susan Scott talking, it's about the conversation. The more conversations you have with that outside political aspect, with the cultural context, the community, the more you learn and understand it, the more you can influence it. Why? Why do we do it? To propel your mission, to achieve your school mission. Why do I want to become better at each of these standards? Why? To achieve the school mission, to help students learn, to further our community, and to build student achievement so that they can become lifelong learners, promoting goodness and virtue. That is it.
All right, thank you, Christine.
Thank you.